DJ Erica. So let's talk about the Joe Budden podcast. Rory and Mal has finally returned to the show this week. Yeah, oh my God. Let me just clap. You know, it's just me, but I'm going to give a hand clap. Whatever was going on behind the scenes, they was able to work it out. And now we have a Joe Budden's podcast once again with the two main hosts, Rory and Mal. Now, I did listen to their comeback episode, and they broke a few things down to the audience without saying too much, because I'm pretty sure they're not going to say everything in detail. But they did basically say that Joe Budden kind of told Rory not to come back to work, and it was more so a thing with him and Rory, and then Mal basically saying he had loyalty with Rory, and he decided to leave as well because he viewed their friendship and everything else as just like a one for all for one type of situation. All right. Now, from me seeing Mal talking, you know, in his face, I think that he was sincere about, you know, caring more about their friendship than he did like about the podcast. You know what I'm saying? Basically talking about like once the respected friendship goes out the window, sometimes, you know, you got to decide whether you want to stay or go and stuff like that. And he wanted to make sure that while he was on the show, they all still had mutual respect for each other as friends, because they started it off as friends. And, you know, they basically divulged in like a 3-hour segment exactly kind of what caused the breaking up of the group, and also call out a few people who was Mal said he realized were fake and praying for the Joe Budden podcast downfall, and, you know, excited and enticed by the fact that they left the show and that they may not be coming back. You know what I mean? And he said it made him open his eyes and realize that there's certain people who support you, you know, and make it seem like they support you until some shit goes down, and then they're celebrating the fact that you guys aren't together. Now, Rory goes into details a little bit, basically saying that Joe Budden sent him a text message telling him not to come back to work, and Joe was pretty much involved. Now, the thing I had a problem with kind of is like when Joe Budden was presenting this issue to the public before these guys came back, he made it seem like Rory and Mal just woke up in the morning and just said, today I'm quitting the podcast. It was more so all three of them being around, and Joe being heavily involved in influencing Rory to want to move forward and leave the podcast. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like I'm glad that they were able to work their situation out, but I would hate to see this happen again. And then what happens with the show? You know what I mean? Another thing they also discussed was, you know, talking about just them not doing the show because of friendship, but seeing that the show must go on, they felt the way about Joe Budden bringing in some co-hosts to talk on their behalf of Rory and Mal, because they view their friendship as stronger. Now, this is my part where I step in on this situation to say business is business. And I feel like the problem with most people in the urban business world of entertainment is they forget business in business, and they're always blurring the line of business and friendship. And, you know, they can feel a way as a friend, but if you guys signed up to be co-hosts of the Joe Budden podcast, you have to understand that this is his livelihood. This is how you pay the bills. Even a producer on the side basically said, like, yo, we couldn't stop just because you decided to quit. We got to keep moving. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it was an interesting perspective on that. And that's the thing that people don't understand. Like, just because you're doing business with a friend doesn't mean that if you guys going through a business squabble that everything regarding that business is supposed to crumble. Like, business is business at the end of the day, and family is family. And if you guys want to handle it separately, I think you should. You shouldn't carry it all together and blend it all together. And if it does happen, you got to understand what could be the possible ramifications of working with a friend, and also working with a friend on a project that's related to business, like a podcast or anything where there's financial equity involved and L's to take, you know, financially. You know what I'm saying? You got to think that stuff through, like whether you want to mix that business and pleasure together. You know what I'm saying? Do you want to take the chance of that, and if it's worth it at the end of the day? You know what I mean? Basically on that podcast, they go into details on why they left the show and how they decided to collectively come back to the show. And, you know, all I can do is sit back and wait. You know what I'm saying? They both were saying that they believe, you know, all good things come to an end. And they had a different, like, their own perspective on the situation while they was going through it. But more so, I feel like they're happy to be back. But I don't know, like, I feel like Joe Budden is kind of like on his last leg. So hopefully he doesn't do anything else to F it up, unless he really just don't want to have them as co-hosts anymore. You know what I mean? But even if it doesn't work out, I will hope that they still will be able to keep their friendship intact. And that's the tricky part of mixing business with pleasure per se, or business and friendship per se, is that if you know, the business don't work out, the friendship is in jeopardy. Or if the business don't work out, the relationship is in jeopardy. And that's something that you just don't want to mix. But you kind of want to have that aspect if you're doing a podcast and you guys are talking about stuff. You want to talk to people that you have chemistry with. Like me, this is a DJ Jerica podcast, and all you're getting is DJ Jerica, okay? Like, I don't feel the need of having a co-host, you know? I don't feel the need of that, because honestly, the more people you have, the more drama. I'll do a co-host here and there, like somebody come on, oh, this person is so-and-so I know. You know, I do a guest where I love interviewing people, you know, on some journalist stuff and like learning their stories and stuff. Yeah, but overall, like having a podcast and having to rely on people to show up every day, I've had experiences of that, and people just not showing up, and it's just being a fucking, being a mess. It's just been like, you know, no, like, you know, so, and sometimes you gotta cope with that and figure out, like, is it possible for me to be so entertaining that I can host the show for an hour to 2-3 hours by myself, and you will sit here and hear me talk all day. You know what I'm saying? It takes someone with true talent and be able to do that. Like right now, I know I've been talking for over an hour, but you're still sitting here listening to me. And if you are, thank you. But you know, sometimes there's people that's like me, who can sit here for 2-3 hours and talk and keep you entertained and be fine with it and sleep well at night, knowing that I don't have to deal with all of this extra stuff. And then there's people like Joe Budden who, you know, finds value in co-hosts. He needs his co-hosts. They're like, it's kind of like the big three in basketball. You know what I mean? You need your center, you need your forward, you need your point guard. Like, everybody need each other. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, you got to think of, can you man the battleship by yourself? You know? But it's his podcast, so he can do whatever he wants because that's his podcast. You know what I mean? But that's just something that I personally noticed. And I just, you know, I feel like with the Joe Budden's podcast, you know, they are really making history for how long they've been on air, for the people that they've interviewed on the show. You know, just the overall entertainment, brand quality, you know, and the fun that they have for those 3 hours that they're sitting there talking to viewers, you know, and the production, you know. So, you know, I would hope that they're able to keep it together and, you know, keep it together. You know, my only message for Joe Budden this time, and also for some of you guys that was on there, y'all see my other video that I did about Joe Budden, that got a lot of views. Like, it almost got like 1,000 views. So I want to thank y'all for watching that. And some of you guys are commenting below like, oh, why would you say the things I said? But, you know, I don't know if Joe Budden watched my video. I don't know. But I'm glad that he made a decision on his friendships and understanding the importance of keeping loyal people around him. And it's so funny because one of the guys has said that on the podcast, like the importance of keeping loyal people around him and, you know, not throwing their relationships in the trash, because, you know, that's what Ma was talking about, is how shady and stingy people is in the music industry, you know what I mean? And how they're fake, you know what I mean? So it's important. It's a beneficial situation, not only for Joe Budden, because he has these people as co-hosts, but it's also beneficial for Rory and Mal, because they have a relationship. All of them are beneficial. All of them benefits from this entire scenario. You know what I'm saying? So y'all tell me if y'all are excited about them coming back. I know that the ratings had took a serious dip since they left, and maybe Joe Budden realized that as well. It's like, yo, we got to get this together because it's messing up the business aspect. Do y'all think that their relationships can stay intact and it won't get any crazy? You know, Joe Budden is known for pissing people off. Is it possible that they're able to stay united on one front and continue to make podcast history, you know? And how long do you think the podcast will continue to last after this, you know? Like I said, was that Rory and Mal said that they didn't want to go out on no corny stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because it was kind of corny. You know, the situation was corny. It would have been corny for them to go out that type of way over a very preventable situation. You know what I'm saying? So, y'all tell me what y'all think about the Joe Budden podcast. Are y'all excited about Rory and Mal returning? Did y'all feel the energy? Did y'all feel like the chemistry was still there? Do y'all, you know, what do y'all expect now in this new chapter of Joe Budden podcast after they left and came back? You know what I mean? And, you know, should Joe Budden still trust them? Listen, I know that they was pointing the finger at Joe and saying like, yo, Joe did this and that's this and that. And Mal was saying that his loyalty was going to go to Rory because it's teamwork. But he kind of like, technically, it would be kind of like viewed as some kind of like turning on Joe. So can he still trust them like they used to? Do you think that he still trusts them the same as he did before? Y'all tell me what y'all think. That's just my perspective on it. I know a lot of y'all was pissed off with my last video because I basically was saying like, Joe Budden, y'all need to get it together. It's this and this. But for real, like, I feel like Joe Budden's podcast can get so much bigger, you know what I mean, than what it is if they could just keep their shit together and really try to fight all of the bad people around them that wants to see the downfall of the podcast. I'm talking from a viewer's perspective, a listener's perspective, you know what I'm saying? And I really want to see the Joe Budden podcast make history and even hell get a TV deal. I don't know if it's on TV yet. Is it on Revolt? Like maybe Revolt give them a TV deal, something major big, because it's only so much you can do with you're just on Spotify, YouTube and stuff like that. But I want to see them elevate even further, and I hope that they don't let their friendship and business mix together and destroy one of the greatest cultural podcasts ever made when it comes to this hip-hop sector. You know what I'm saying? But y'all tell me what y'all think about that. And then, of course, if it's anything else to happen with the Joe Budden podcast, I will make another video about that, and we will talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. We will discuss it. So, y'all tell me what y'all think about that. And outside of that, let me just talk about my personal situation anyway. But yeah, y'all, I've been working real hard with this podcast on the website, djjericapod.com. Make sure you guys sign up right now. I just had to tell you guys right now that you can sign up for an email subscription, a mailing email listing to be notified every time I drop a new news article on the site. I have my website on autopilot, so it's new news dropping every other hour, new stuff coming out for y'all already prepared. So if you guys haven't already, go to the website djjericapod.com to get all of the gossip and news that I'm talking about. That is also available on the site, so you guys can indulge even more, be able to see what I'm talking about, listen to what I'm talking about, and give me your opinions on the things that I'm talking about. Did I say talking about like 10 times? Possibly. Anyway, if you guys are on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Like I said before, I am on the road to, I'm not going to tell y'all, but my subscribers, I have a number in my head and I'm reaching the number. So thank you to all the new subscribers that's on my channel. I wanted to take a thank you, a big thank you to all my YouTube subscribers that's on my channel, supporting my brand, showing me love, you know. It takes a lot of time to do this, ladies and gentlemen, and I appreciate everybody who's been patient with me while I try to get this whole thing together. You know, me taking a long hiatus and it takes a lot of time to do this production work. It takes a lot of time to be a media brand myself. And also, of course, now I have my other YouTube channel, DJ Erica Music Mixes, where I put music mixes from like R&B artists, hip hop, throwback music. If you guys like that, subscribe. That's on the channel too. It's on my channel tab. If you go on this page, main channel, you could go down and you'll see the additional channel page for DJ Erica Mixes. Subscribe there. And then DJ